everybody, this is Nate coming to you from Palen Music Center down here in Springfield, Missouri. And with me as always is my very good friend, Mr. Nash. And today we are taking a look at the Silktone Parallel. Nash, we've talked about the Silktone Amp before. Folks, this is a whole different bag of chips. Nash, reach in there and tell us how to eat these things.
Well, it's everything and more. If you loved the original Silktone amp and you love single-ended amps in general, then this has likely been on your radar for a long time. Let me tell you though, there isn't anything like this on the market, pure and simple. Now, are there parallel single-ended amps on the market? Yes. Are any of them 25 watts? No, they're not. So everyone who liked the original but needed a little extra juice, a little higher headroom, which affords you sometimes a little more chime, a little more cleaner bass response, then this is the amp for you. This is a godsend because it's everything you like about the original with a bunch of additional features that are really going to make your life a lot easier.
If you like the tweed style amplifier, but you wish you had more of the 60s style headroom, this is your Huckleberry, right? But also, what's really cool about Silktone, there's some other things under the hood that you just don't find in a normal amplifier. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a few guitars that have some pickup configurations that are probably similar to what you have, and we're gonna run this through a clean sound. We'll get to the broken up sounds and some of the other things that this has. So without further ado, 1, 2, 3, here we go. Well, it's teletime. So right now, we got this set up in mode 2.
You have mode 1 and mode 2, which is going to be the overall voicing. Mode 1 is going to add a negative feedback loop. To put it briefly, basically that's some wire and a resistor from the last part of the output stage to a part of the input stage. It feeds the signal back to itself. Basically what you need to know is if you think of like a black panel amp versus like a tweed, it cleans it up. The pro to that is it does clean it up. It makes the bass a little more punchy and more prominent. One thing that does is especially with the higher headroom, it's gonna give you more pristine cleans. However, when you take that out of the circuit, you're gonna get more even order harmonics, and you're just gonna start to get the kind of like keefy breakup and looseness that you'd expect from a single-ended amp again.
So with all that being said, let's put it in raw mode, which bypasses the EQ. We're gonna hear the difference between setting number 1 and setting number 2. Setting number 1 is 60s black panel, setting number 2 is tweedy keef. Okay, I'm on the bridge pickup of this Fender Custom Shop Telecaster. I mean, that's still pretty nice. A lot of harmonics swimming around there. I really dig that. But now when we switch it to number 2, watch your ears on this one. Here we go. Definitely a volume jump. Definitely way more overdriven harmonics, but also it's got that great swampy, stonesy thing going on there too.
Big difference in the low end there. As you mentioned, that's an EQ bypass, so that's bypassing the tone stack entirely. So it's interesting to see how that feedback loop can affect the overall just character of the amp. It really like tightens it up. It's basically Neil Young versus something that's like considerably cleaner than that.
Neil Young versus the Beach Boys.
100%.
Cage match. Hey, so what happens if I put this in the bright switch mode? So that brings the EQ back into the equation, right?
EQ back with a high shelf.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be on I'm gonna go back to number 1 in the bright switch mode here.
That's the girl next door.
That's right, you can bring that tone home to mom. Yeah, there you go. All right, so then now if we go to this position number 2 on here, back to this keefy thing, check out what happens. That's a very Merle kind of tweed.
Let me show you my tattoos.
Exactly. Yeah, I dig that. So let's try this with a completely different guitar, but so far so good. This sounds pretty awesome.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tones in there. All right, next guitar. what kind of tubes does this use?
KT66s.
KT66.
My favorite big bottles.
If I would have told you, hey, Silktone's coming out with this really chimey amp, you'd have been like, great, EL84s, right? KT66s. This is a chime machine. Now, I know it's swimming in reverb because that's how I like it, but you cannot deny a chime. Also, I get it. This LSL Satakoy, which is based off of Sean Tubbs' model. In fact, it's called Tubby Jr. That sounds like a dude you want to hang out with, maybe eat a can of SpaghettiOs or
Hop
something.
in my Bronco. Let's go to town.
Exactly. Broncos and SpaghettiOs. That's the America I want to live in. It's got a Filtron in the bridge, and yes, it is built for chiming. But I can't believe how chimey this thing's. I'll back off the reverb a little bit. Listen to this.
Speaking of that reverb, man, you can do everything from plate to like almost like goes beyond the scope of a regular spring reverb. That's for sure.
Here's the reverb cranked up. I'm going to be on this bridge pickup. I'm going to go to raw silk mode here, and then I'm going to go to number 2. I'm not going to blow you out of the water here, but I am going to use a little volume swell action.
That's no pedals, folks. That's all the amp. That's almost slow gear territory, if you know what I'm talking about.
So one of the things that you're going to find with Silktone, and if you go back, we actually had Charles here with us. We had a really great interview on Chords and Coffee, Nash and I did. And there's actually a funny moment where he sort of foreshadows this amp.
The number one request I've gotten is a higher powered version of this. So to double this up and get 25 or so watts out of it was a challenge, you know, and keeping everything quiet and also having it be different, you know. I don't want to just release the same amp over again. So that's what I'm shooting for next, is a higher power version of that. It'll probably be 25 watts. It'll be parallel single-ended.
I was about to say parallel. Okay, parallel single-ended.
And as far as I know, it's going to be the highest powered single-ended guitar amp ever released.
So when that moment happened, before that, leading up to that, you know, I don't know if you know this, but Charles was in like the hi-fi stereo game, right?
He was a vinyl cat for sure.
Yeah, and so a lot of what I would call the inspiration for his tonal palette when he is voicing an amplifier comes from this place where you hear everything. Now, I know some of you right now get nervous when I say that, because you're like, even my mistakes? Well, here's the deal, is that a good guitar with a good cable plugged into a good amp allows you to really play in a way, and I'm a pedal guy, I love pedals, I'm not disparaging pedals, bring on the pedals, but there is something wonderful about plugging straight in and getting a really pure sound. And this will give you a lot of freedom to explore what's already in your hands.
Yeah, man, finding an amp you really vibe with, it's like kind of going on a one-on-one date with your forever person. It feels effortless, a triumphant experience.
Hey, speaking of which, Charles is the P90 guy, so we got to try something with P90.
100%.
Let's go get it. All right, here's the Reverend Sensei Jr. single P90 pickup. We got it on the 1 watt setting. We got it cranked up. I got the dwell cranked and the mix turned down, so it's kind of a faux, almost slapback. That sounds like an amplifier ready to explode.
The best fuzz pedal you ever heard in your life, folks. Was
Yeah,
that on mode 1 or 2 on that?
Yeah, actually, here, I'm gonna turn to that point. Let me turn this thing all the way up here, and then I'm gonna turn my tone down a little bit.
Get that nice raspiness, almost like Range Master. Like.
Yeah, all the way up here. Here we go. Infinite sustain. Now, I know some of y'all right now are going, Nate, there is no universe where I would ever use a sound like that. Well, if you're looking for a really cool amp that has a lot of different tones for your recording palette, it's kind of cool to have, because let me remind you, this same sheboying right here, Nash, I would love to get your feedback here in a second. So let me just turn this up and make this a little more, quote unquote, normal, or how about, I don't know, kid friendly. And then if I go to the 25 watt mode as opposed to the 1 watt. And then if I put it in the middle position, so on the bright switch, and I go back to the position number 1. Turn my tone up.
Girl next door to Thunderdome.
Yeah, there's a lot of different tonal options. And like I said, we just opened this up. We've just been turning knobs right here before your very eyes. I'm really impressed with this. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, it is a nice amp. Charles is such a tone guru. I mean, he is a tone Sherpa who is prepared to take you to the top of tone Everest.
Take us higher, Charles.
Absolutely. Man, we love being a partner in this tone quest with Charles and with you. If you have questions about this amp or shoot anything that you see us talking about, just give us a call, 417-882-7000. Ask for Nash, ask for me. We're here to help you. We appreciate your watching. We will see you soon.